All right, welcome in on this Black Friday edition of the College Football Kickoff Show, powered by WagerTalk.com. We got a lot going on this Friday here. We got college basketball. We got full slates of NBA, NHL. There's an NFL game going on with something named Boyle. I can't tell you exactly what's happening there, but I do know we have plenty of college football coming up on Saturday this week. Some huge games for this rivalry week, and we're going to break down some of these games coming up for you and point you in the right direction with a couple of best bets. We'll do it with the three guys that have been crushing it in college football all season long. Brian Power in the house. Jeff Michaels is here, as is J.A. Jimmy Adams, ready to roll here. Gentlemen, let's kick it off here. And we'll head out west with you, BP, because you're actually covering a game with schools people have heard of. Why
Yeah.
don't we talk a little bit here of the Apple Cup with, I believe, Washington State taking on Washington in a battle, which, boy, this would really feel good about the season for Washington State if they were able to pull this upset off. But who are we kidding? What do you think we're going to get in this, though? What's the best betting angle here?
Well, first off, stay tuned later in the program, Joe. I'll bring you right back
Ooh.
to the teams that America loves to hear me
Ooh.
talk about. But yes,
Oh.
here we have a 5-6 Washington State team getting points. Now they're big underdogs, as you mentioned, facing an unbeaten Washington that obviously needs to keep winning to make the college football playoff. But facing their rival with the chance at bowl eligibility, yes, that 5-6 record, of course, key this time of year, Joe. I think you can expect a strong effort from Wazoo for 60 minutes. Remember, this is a team that beat Wisconsin, beat Oregon State earlier in the year. Okay, maybe the Wisconsin win doesn't seem so impressive now here in November, but beating Oregon State certainly is impressive, even though that was at home. And I thought the Cougs coming off that win, full disclosure, were a bit overvalued. I faded them when they went to UCLA and lost. The losing streak hit 6, if you can believe it or not. I didn't see that coming. But last Friday, 56-14 demolition of Coach Prime in Colorado in Pullman. That showed me this team still cares, guys. And you look at their 6 losses, Washington State, 5 have been by 2 touchdowns or fewer. That's, of course, important because that would be inside this particular spread. And, Washington, Joe, really kind of reminds me of TCU last season. The more and more we see these results coming in, they're just living dangerously. 5 one-score wins, 7 straight wins by 10 points or less. Outgained by Stanford, outgained by Arizona State, and then last week they were outgained by Oregon State in the torrential downpour. Should be noted, the one time this year Washington has won by more than 10 in conference play, it was against Cal. That was the conference opener, and they had 2 non-offensive touchdowns in that game. So this is a team, Washington, despite the unbeaten record, has difficulty winning by margin. There's, of course, lots of pressure on them. Now that it's the final week of the regular season, they've still got that 0 in the loss column. All they care about is winning straight up, and they're on to the Pac-12 championship game, where another win there would mean the college football playoff. I just think this is too many points for a rivalry game. Yes, the last 9 meetings have all been decided by double digits, and Washington's won 8 of them. But dog or pass for me in the Apple Cup. I am leaning towards Wazoo.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting spot because really Washington, it's not about style points at this time. It's just win and get the hell out, and that's it. Doesn't really mean a whole lot to show off anything at this point. So with you on that one there as we welcome in Jeff Michaels to the house. And don't let me forget, guys, have a great opportunity for you to partner up with any one of these 3 guys coming up. I'm going to tell you about here a little Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal here at wagertalk.com. But I am so interested in hearing what Jeff has to say regarding Ohio. Florida State. I thought for sure there would have been some sort of Ohio team involved here. But Florida State taking on Florida. Don't know what you're doing in this neck of the woods here, Jeff Michaels. But are you playing quarterback for Florida State right now? Be honest. What's going on?
Maybe I should. And, we're trying to get to somewhere warmer than what it is up in Ohio at the moment. So I figured, hey, let's head down to Florida. But no, there really is a good matchup going on down there. And you look at this Florida State team, they've actually failed to cover 3 straight games, and you mentioned it. There was somebody got hurt in one of those games, and that may play a role. Oh yeah, no quarterback for Florida State. So, even their big blowout win against North Alabama last week, they still failed to cover the spread in that one. But, one of the biggest things that I'm really looking at outside of the fact that this Florida State team now has no real quarterback, we'll see how he can, step up under pressure. But, the one thing that really stood out to me with this Florida State team is playing on the road. They've relied heavily on that pass game. On the road, they're averaging 110 rushing yards per game and 321 passing yards. At home, it's a little more evenly distributed there. 206 rushing yards per game, 261 through the air. So they really have been relying on those big plays, a lot of yards through the air to put up those points on the road. And being able to do that with a new quarterback stepping in is definitely going to be, I think, a disadvantage for this Florida State team. You look at their defense on the splits, they're allowing over 100 yards per game more on the road than they are at home. Their offense is putting up 11 less points per game on the road. So they've really had some struggles on defense on the road on both sides of the ball. And I'm sure we'll hear about this again. I'm going to touch on it again in my best bet, but that 5-6 number that Brian mentioned is obviously going to be huge in the last week of this season, and Florida's sitting right there again. So Billy Napier and this team, is really fighting for this one to be able to reach a bowl for the 6th straight season. And you almost thought that there was no question that it was going to happen at the beginning of the year. I mean, they were 5-2 through the first 7 games, including that upset against Tennessee. And now they've dropped 4 in a row. So, it really is do or die for them in this situation. And the opposite of what I mentioned about Florida State playing on the road is true for Florida here. They've had their advantages playing at home, and that shouldn't come as a huge surprise. But, the offense is putting up 10 more points per game at home. Their defense has a huge difference. I mean, they're holding opponents to just over 300 yards per game at home, whereas this Florida defense is allowing 471 yards per game on the road. 165 yards worth of difference between home and away splits there. Florida's actually 3-0-1 against the spread in the last 4 meetings between these two teams. They lost last year, but prior to that, they had won 3 straight, and the home team has won 3 straight in this series. So, I don't know if Florida will be able to pull it off, but I am willing to take the points with this Gators team and let them shoot their shot at bowl eligibility, seeing as Florida State, could be looking ahead a little bit to an ACC title game that they already clinched against against Louisville. So a lot more on the line for Florida here. I'm going with the dog in this one. I'm going with the
No Graham Mertz, no problem. All right, UF it is to get it done there. Hey, thanks Florida State for participating this year. There'll be no national championship for you. All right, appreciate that, Jeff. Now, Jimmy, help us out here, my man, as Jimmy Adams continues to just absolutely crush it here in college football this year. Also, off to a great start in college hoops. So, a lot going on for you here, Jimmy, but break it down for us. A&M LSU getting ready to go to town. Feels like a game where we could get some points, at least from one side. But how would you approach LSU and A&M in this matchup?
Yeah, so LSU hosts Texas A&M and their interim coach Elijah Robertson in Death Valley on Saturday, with a lot at stake for LSU. And I say that because Jaden Daniels is the front runner right now to win the Heisman, and Brian Kelly is going to do everything in his power to make that happen, even if it means adding some scores late. And he's not the only one going for records, Joe. Malik Neighbors is also trying to become the career leader in both receptions and receiving yards. So we can expect the offense to do their best to put on a show in front of the home fans. Aside from all the individual awards, LSU is ranked number one in the nation in total offense at 46.8 points per game and an astounding 8.6 yards per play. The Tigers are also 10-1 to the over this season, and that offense, along with a defense that has not been good, is the main reason why. They're allowing over 6 yards per play to opponents. And look, the season hasn't gone the way Texas A&M would have liked. I mean, they gave Jimbo Fisher $70 million just to get the heck out of there. But the Aggies have scored 30 plus in each of their past 4 games. 3 came against SEC opponents, including hanging 51 on Mississippi State. Jalen Henderson was the quarterback for A&M in that contest. So I'm not concerned if Max Johnson plays or not. He was listed as questionable last I saw. He's a transfer from Fresno, has experience. And how much do we really need out of A&M here? I mean, this is the Jaden Daniels Heisman showcase. And for as good as A&M's defense is, they're not going to be able to go on the road and stop it. Give me the LSU Texas A&M over for this one, Joe.
Oh. All right, looking at the up and over in there. So there you got it. We got 3 big game breakdowns. About to give you guys 3 best bets in college football coming up this weekend. But don't forget, we just showed you on the screen an opportunity to partner up with any one of these 3 guys, or hell, all 3 of these guys here. From Black Friday today through Cyber Monday, get a 90-day all-access package for less than $47 a week. That means every sport, every pick from your favorite handicapper, whether it be Jimmy Adams, Brian Power, or Jeff Michaels, everything they got for the next 3 months for less than $47 a week, guys. No code needed. Great, and I mean great way for you to partner up through the holidays, make yourself a little extra cash here. Just our way of saying and wishing you and your family a very safe and happy, as well as profitable holiday season. So take advantage of it now. Visit these guys over at wagertalk.com. All right, best bet time here as we get ready to close out the regular season in college football. BP, no doubts. I know you've gone back and forth with this one here, but you have narrowed your focus to a game that most everyone is going to want to watch this weekend. So tell us how you're looking at Ball State, Miami of Ohio exactly.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's got a second TV so they can throw Ohio State, Michigan on there while they put this on the main one, Joe. I'm going to take it upon myself, though, to try to really sell you on betting this one, because this is a tricky sandwich spot for the Red Hawks of Miami. They're laying points on the road the week after clinching the MAC West. They've got the MAC championship game on deck versus Toledo. And I just think there's a chance they don't give their best effort Saturday in Muncie, where they're going to face a Ball State team playing its final game of 2023. The Cardinals cannot go bowling. They're 4-7, but you wouldn't know it by how they've played late. 3-2 straight up the last 5 games. They've covered all 5 of them. They also, and this I think is the real key here, they have the added motivation, does Ball State, of avenging last year's loss to Miami in the regular season finale, which kept them out of a bowl. They led that game, did Ball State, by double digits in the fourth quarter, but they lost 18-17. I think the motivation is clearly with the home dog here. Give Miami credit because they've won this division despite losing Brett Gabbert to a season-ending injury. The backup, Avion Smith, he is more of a runner than he is a passer. The team is 9-2 ATS, Miami, but the last 2 weeks, anyone who was watching the midweek action knows the Red Hawks have been a little lucky. A 19-0 shutout over Akron. Total yards were dead even, basically, in that game, and Akron possessed the ball 5 different times inside the Miami 40, and yet somehow scored no points. And then last week, we all saw it. I was on the wrong end of a bad beat. Buffalo literally fumbling away a cover in the closing minutes when the guy was going in for a touchdown, goes through the end zone. Tough break there for me. But I just think Miami wants to proceed with caution with the bigger game on deck. It's not like they're in contention, Joe, for the New Year's 6 bowl spot that goes to the group of 5. Ball State's offense has been better down the stretch. They've topped 20 or more in 4 straight games. You look at the record, they played Kentucky and Georgia earlier in the year, which weighed down their stats early. But this is a team with the 3rd best run defense in the MAC. Remember, Smith, not much of a threat to pass. The total for the game is really low. Points are going to be at a premium. So that means you want to back the dog. Sure enough, Ball State, 16-6 ATS, last 22 as a conference dog. 4-1 at home this season, oh, by the way. Let's take the points with Ball State, and that number is dropping. Best bet for the show today. I'd play it down to 3.5.
All right, there you go. Got to look at a little MAC football there, a little best bet heading into this weekend, a best bet that nobody asked for. All right, let's move on. Jeff Michaels here, who I am sure is dying a little inside that he wasn't able to go ahead and use that game for a best bet. But you're going to try to come up with one for us involving South Carolina and Clemson here. So what are we looking at, Jeff, for a best bet this weekend?
Joe, I spent a year going to school at Miami. I was a Red Hawk there for a minute. So you never know. I maybe I was looking to bet that. But you're right. I'm jumping to South Carolina Clemson here in this one. And, similar look, honestly, to what I gave in the big game breakdown in that Florida State game. So I'm not going to go over the 5-6 record that South Carolina's sitting at, and Clemson doesn't have much to play for. But, what I am going to emphasize here is the difference in this game between that one. One of the biggest ones is the fact that Florida started out strong and has finished weak. South Carolina has been the exact opposite, and they're showing some momentum that they're bringing into this game. I mean, they started the season 2-6 straight up. Now they've won 3 straight, and they're sitting again at that 5-6 record. And they get to finish it out at home, which again has been a huge difference for them this season. I mean, 4-2 against the spread at home. They're putting up 38 points per game at home. That's 22 more points than they're averaging on the road, 450 yards per game. And their defense has played better. Now, you look at Clemson, who has to travel on the road here, obviously, but the difference between their home and away splits are almost as drastic. I mean, we know that Clemson obviously has a pretty large home field advantage when they get to play at home, but this season specifically, I mean, they've really struggled on the road. They're just 1-3 straight up and against the spread. And that's despite the fact that they were over 8-point favorites on average in those 4 games. I mean, the offense putting up under 19 points per game on the road. And not to mention their leading receiver, Bo Collins, is out for this game. So, Clemson, again, they're not going to be fighting they are bowl eligible, obviously, so they don't need to, be concerned about that at this point. But they're, for the first time in a while, they're not fighting for conference. They're not fighting for national championship. They're really not fighting for a whole lot. And South Carolina's fighting for a lot, and they're coming in with full-blown, coming in like a freight train here with 3 straight wins. Granted, they weren't against the best opponents, but it's still a lot of momentum to bring into a game like this, a rivalry game nonetheless, where one team has a lot more to play for than the other, and they're coming in with that kind of momentum. So, again, I'm taking the dog here. I'm taking the points with South Carolina against Clemson.
They beat them last year, too, and kind of upended Clemson there in South Carolina and kind of threw a giant wrench into their plans last season. And you're right. People don't go to Clemson to play in Who Gives a Crap Bowl. Just saying. So there we go. South Carolina taking on Clemson for a best bet. Not quite Ball State, Miami of Ohio, as I'm watching the most disgusting final 40 seconds of a game that you will ever see, although this game might go down in history as one of the most disgusting you will ever watch with Iowa and Nebraska. But Iowa ends up winning it 13-10 as they picked it off and had one run of 20 yards with 37 missed tackles to actually get into field goal range. That was just about as ugly as possible. Now, Jimmy, this game is not going to be ugly that you have a best bet on. Something tells me there will actually be people watching this game here with Ohio State and Michigan. And no doubt you've got a winning ticket here. So tell us how you're approaching this big matchup here.
Yeah, so looking at Ohio State, Michigan, it has been a long time since we've seen an under in this rivalry. but a defensive slugfest is coming Saturday in Ann Arbor. Michigan and Ohio State rank 1 and 3 in total defense, with these teams allowing just 18.3 points per game combined between the two. They're both allowing single digits to their opponents on the season. And we all know what's at stake here: a trip to the Big Ten championship game and probably a bid to the playoff, as either one of these teams is going to be around a 3-touchdown favorite over Iowa. So these are the best two pass defenses as well in all of college football. So I wouldn't expect much to get done through the air. And on the ground, you have Michigan allowing under 3 yards per attempt and Ohio State at 3.3. So where's the scoring going to come from? I will say that the Buckeyes have the more skill position talent, with Marvin Harrison Jr. leading the way. And there have also been some negative signs from J.J. McCarthy over the past 2 weeks, despite the wins. Over that time, he has 201 yards, no TDs, and a pick. And I know a lot of that was because they were able to run the ball with so much success and they didn't really need to throw it. But when McCarthy has dropped back, he's been under pressure 36% of the time. So the Wolverines will be in trouble if they're not able to hold protection on that offensive line. At the end of the day, these are two great defenses that are going to make scoring come at a premium. Give me the under with Ohio State and Michigan for this week's best bet.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. Two best units on that on that field are going to be on the defenses there for sure. So there you got it. We got 5 games, 3 best bets. We got 3 big game breakdowns, and of course, whatever the hell Brian Power give out. We do appreciate you hanging by. Do want to remind you again the opportunity to hop on board and partner up. 90 days. That is 3 months of all access. It's our Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale. Good through from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right through Cyber Monday. No code needed. Less than $47 a week. Every sport, every pick from your favorite handicapper. So make sure you visit Brian Power. He will have way more from Lemoyne than any of us care ever to know. You also have, of course, Jeff Michaels as well as Jimmy Adams crushing it this week, guys. So partner up with them. Just our way of wishing you and your family a very happy, safe, and profitable holiday season. But we're not done. If it's top 25 action you're looking for, if you're interested in some more of these head-to-head matchups with game previews as well as best bets, go ahead. Click on that video on your screen right now. You'll get access to all of this weekend's action, and then come back and join us again next week. Conference championships, bowl games, a lot more college football still to be played. So have a happy weekend. Come back. We'll see you again on Monday. Good luck.